It is a great honor for me to introduce to you this evening Senator John Edwards. Let's give him a Memphis welcome.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that I was backstage and got to hear the First Baptist Choir perform. What a great inspiration all of you were. Thank you. The Lord was in your voices, and we could feel it. All of us could feel it. I'm very proud to be at the Memphis Interfaith Alliance. This organization actually reminds me a great deal of a group that I was involved in before I ever got involved in politics, a group called Urban Ministries, which is also a faith-based group in North Carolina, focused on the poorest of the poor, dealing with the homeless, trying to help people survive, which is really what it's about, survival. And I just want to say before I take another step, Vicki spoke very eloquently. She was the first of the three who spoke very eloquently about being homeless, taking care of her son, worried about her son, the support she gave for her son, and the support her son gave for her, and his grades, and being proud of how his grades have improved. And I think we ought to bring her son Kobe up here for a minute and show him a little appreciation. Wave. Stay here a second. And I have to tell you, I'm glad to praise him, glad to praise his mother, but any man wearing a UNC Tar Heel basketball jersey, I'm sorry. I know I'm in Memphis. Good to see you. Good to see you, Kobe. You can go now. You can go now. I knew that was dangerous in Memphis. Listen, we have such work to do in this country, and I have been so inspired over the last few years, seeing the extraordinary work that is being done in places just like this, by people just like you, who understand and have accepted and embraced the responsibility of a country. Because poverty is not a Memphis problem. Poverty is not a Tennessee problem. Poverty is not a New Orleans problem. Poverty is an American problem. And it is an issue that all of us have to take responsibility for doing something about, and something that so many of us have become so personally invested in. You know, some of you have heard me talk in the past about the two different Americas. Man, I'm here to tell you, we got two different Americas. We got one for all those who are doing very, very well, and then one for everybody else. And during the course of today, I have seen those two Americas very vividly and very clearly. Last night, we were in New Orleans, and we were walking through the 9th Ward. I'm actually very proud to have announced my presidential campaign from the 9th Ward of New Orleans, because I don't want America to forget about New Orleans. I don't want America to forget about those pictures that came streaming into our television screens after the hurricane hit in New Orleans. And it was fascinating to me. First of all, the government's been a mess in New Orleans. Everybody knows that. But we were walking through the 9th Ward, and the incredible strength and courage and resilience of the people of the 9th Ward is absolutely amazing. People who are rebuilding their homes, really pretty much on their own, right? They're rebuilding their homes, they're rebuilding their lives. But the first place we went, the woman said to us, wonderful woman, she said to me, and Elizabeth, my wife Elizabeth was with me, and Elizabeth's doing great, by the way, doing very well. But she said to me, she said, please go out and tell the people of America that people like me, you know, yes, I was hit hard by the hurricane. Yes, we have suffered. Yes, we are struggling. But people get this image sometimes that the only people who live poor in America are, in fact, the homeless. That's not true. She said, I get up and go to work every day. I've been working my whole life. I don't know anything but hard work, and I want people to know we're doing everything right, everything we're supposed to do, and we're still struggling. That's what America has to understand. There are an extraordinary range of people who live in poverty in the United States of America, and they live there for very different reasons. When we were in New Orleans last night, in New Orleans this morning. So by the way, went to an extraordinary place this morning where they do a whole variety of things for people in the low-income community of New Orleans, including something we ought to be doing every place in America, which is making sure every child in this country gets a good early childhood start before they ever go to school. Really amazing to watch what they were doing. But we left New Orleans earlier today, and we went to Canton, Mississippi. And in Canton, Mississippi, we saw another example of the struggles that good people are faced with every single day. We met with workers who were working in a poultry plant, and they told us about the extraordinarily dangerous conditions under which they work, the difficulty they have because they don't have any sick leave. Now think about what that means. If you're working full-time, you got no sick leave, what do you do when your baby gets sick? Who's going to take your child to the doctor? You stay out of work and they may lay you off. And in the best case scenario is you don't get paid. So one of the things that we talked about today was the need for anybody that's working full-time in the United States of America to have paid sick leave so that they can in fact take their children to the doctor. But I have to tell you, it's worse than that. It's worse than that because the Department of Labor looked at 50 or so of these poultry plants around the country. And out of that 50, all of them, every single one of them, had problems with actually stealing hours from their employees. In other words, not paying them for the hours that they were in fact working. And we heard that over and over and over earlier today in Canton, Mississippi. Listen, some of this stuff is not rocket science. You know, people who are going to work every day, is that, by the way, not what we believe in America? That people ought to work, they ought to be responsible, they ought to take care of their families, they ought to love their family and their Lord, right? That's what we believe in. But if that's true, are they not entitled to some dignity and respect? Are they not entitled to a chance to take care of their families? And that's what this is about. That's what this is about. Another example of what we're talking about is many of these workers are Hispanic or Latino. In the Department of Labor, for the entire United States, there are 4 bilingual enforcement officers, people who are responsible for making sure the labor laws and safety laws are not being violated. 4 who can actually go into a plant and speak the language of the people who are working there. This has all got to change. This is not complicated. It's all got to change. People need to be paid for the work they're doing. They need to have paid sick leave. We need to enforce the laws that protect workers and protect worker safety. Then we left Canton and we went to Marks, Mississippi, which was the place where the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King many years ago started his Poor People's March. And I have to tell you, it was moving. We were on a little street called Cotton Street, which is the street that actually was the original place that began the Poor People's March, because Dr. King went there and saw the conditions under which people were living. Children who didn't have any food in their cupboard, children who didn't know what they were going to eat the next day. And he believed that it was his responsibility to speak out and to raise America's awareness about this issue. I also learned that Senator Bobby Kennedy went there during roughly the same period of time, also to raise the country's awareness about this issue. But here we walked in the steps of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and his work is not finished. This Interfaith Council understands that. All of you understand that. Have we made some progress in America? Yes, we've made some progress. But we are still confronted with a huge moral issue in this country. It is not okay in the richest nation on the planet to have 37 million people who wake up every single day worried about feeding and clothing their children. We're better than that. America's better than that. And all of us have a joint responsibility to provide hope and opportunity to make work pay. And then we went to New Helena, Arkansas. We got some folks from Arkansas here, don't we? And met with a group of workers who are home health aides, basically. They provide home health care, and they told us their story. Another in a long series of the stories of poverty in America today. The stories of the other America, not the Wall Street America, but the other America, the real America that all of you live in and that you see every single day. And these women, and it was mostly women, not entirely women, but it was mostly women, these women got the same problem. They don't get any sick leave. They don't get paid any overtime. You know, if something goes wrong and they're out of work, they might get laid off. They're certainly not going to get paid. And most of the women that I met with who were home health workers have been working there for many years, 10, 15, 16, 17 years. Why? Because they love their kids, because they want to support their family, but they are still living at or below the poverty line. Listen, nobody in the United States of America should work full-time and still live in poverty. Nobody. So we left that small community in Arkansas and came here to Memphis to be with you, to hear more stories of not only the struggles that people are faced with, but just as important, the great works that are being done. Because people say to me, see all those TV cameras in the back? I have had reporters asking me all day long. This is the first full day of our One America tour, trying to create One America poverty tour. I've had reporters asking me all day the same thing I've been asked ever since my presidential campaign started. Why do you do this? Why do you talk about this issue? This is not a good political issue. The American people don't care about this. Is that true? No. Is that true? No. Do we care? Yes. And America cares, and we have to convince the media and the world that America cares. The country feels it. You can see it. In fact, I would argue to all of them that if you want to know whether America cares, don't watch what the government did when the hurricane hit the Gulf Coast. Watch what the American people did, because they volunteered, they contributed. Listen, it is true that all of us have to stand up and fight. It is true that all of us have to be part of the movement that began many years ago, decades ago, to end poverty in this country. But the will is there. The American people want to do something about this. They can feel it in their gut. They know that those pictures they saw coming out of the Ninth Ward of New Orleans are not okay. They know that something's wrong. It's why they got invested. It's why they cared. But they need leaders who will bring this issue to their attention. They need you, all of you, because I am completely convinced that if we lead on this, that if we start a movement, that we don't let that movement die, but we continue to march forward day after day after day to speak up for the voiceless, to speak up for the poor. Is the country going to hear our voices on this? They need to hear our voices on this. We need to be willing to fight. And I want to say to all of you, I didn't come here tonight to talk about policy. I came here to talk about all the solutions. There are lots of ideas, lots of solutions. But the most important thing that we have to do, if we want to end poverty in America, if we want to take on this great moral cause that faces our country. And by the way, none of us should think for a second that those pictures that came out of the Ninth Ward of New Orleans, that we're the only ones who saw. The whole world saw. And they want to know if the richest country on the planet is in fact going to stand idly by and watch this continue. The answer is we are not. And I want to say to all of you, and I mean this, you know, it would be a wonderful thing if the President of the United States could solve all these problems alone. It is not the truth. It is a fantasy. If we want to bring about the bold change that can end poverty in this country, we need a movement. And you think about where movement started in this country. The Civil Rights Movement didn't start in the Oval Office in Washington, D.C. You know where the Civil Rights Movement started. It started in communities just like this, where people had backbone and courage and went out with passion and fought for what they believed in. And they helped change this country. I mean, I saw it up close. I grew up with the civil rights movement, as many of you did. The same thing happened in bringing an end to this war in Vietnam. Long, bloody war in Vietnam. Same thing happened in ending an apartheid regime in South Africa. The same thing I feel is happening today on this issue of poverty. But we can't stay home and hope that someone else is going to do this for us. We can't. We have to take responsibility. We have to take action. And I want to tell you, those people that I have seen today and over the last few years, I feel the responsibility. I feel it inside me. It is with me every single second. We have to stand up for them. We have to fight for them. Children like Kobe, who was on this stage a few minutes ago, if we don't speak up for them, if we don't stand up for them, if we don't fight for them, you tell me who's going to. If you paraphrase Gandhi, you've got to be the change that you believe in. You can't wait for somebody else to do this for you. So I want to say to all of you, I am excited about what we're doing, but I'm also excited about what you're doing. And I want you to help us. I want you to join this movement. Join this movement to change America. Join this movement on the great moral cause of our time, which is ending poverty in America. Feel these people inside you. Carry them with you. If you want to live in a moral and fair and just country where everybody has a chance, no matter who you are, who your family is, or what the color of your skin, is that the America you want to live in? If that's the America you want to live in, we need you, every single one of you, because we can end poverty in this country. We can create an America that all of us are proud of, and we can create an America where every single child born in this country has exactly the same chance to do great things. But brothers and sisters, we're going to have to do it together. And I'm here to tell you we are going to do it together. God bless you all. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to be with you. Thank you all very much.